Angela Carter, a 34-year-old single mother, sat at the defendant's table, her hands clasped tightly, her face etched with worry. She was charged with theft, accused of stealing $8,000 worth of equipment from her employer, a local medical supply company where she worked as a warehouse clerk. The evidence seemed airtight. Security footage showing a woman resembling Angela leaving the warehouse with boxes, inventory logs with her initials, and a co-worker's testimony claiming she bragged about making extra cash. Angela swore she was innocent, but the weight of the accusations was crushing. A conviction could mean years in prison, leaving Jeremiah and his younger sister, Maya, in foster care. Jeremiah, a seventh grader with a quick mind and a passion for reading, had always been close to his mother. Angela had raised him and Maya alone since their father left when Jeremiah was 4. She worked long hours, often coming home exhausted, but always finding time to help with homework or read with her children. Jeremiah admired her strength, but he also saw her vulnerability. When Angela was arrested, he overheard her crying to her public defender, Mark Ellison, about the weak defense and the mounting evidence. The lawyer seemed overworked, juggling too many cases, and Jeremiah sensed his mother's fate slipping away. The trial was in its 3rd day, and the prosecution was relentless. The prosecutor, a seasoned attorney named Laura Hensley, painted Angela as a desperate woman who turned to crime to support her family. Ms. Carter had access to the warehouse, the opportunity, and a motive, Hensley argued, her voice sharp. The footage doesn't lie. Angela's defense was shaky. Mark Ellison had barely cross-examined the witnesses, and his questions lacked focus. The jury, a mix of skeptical and sympathetic faces, seemed swayed by the prosecution's narrative. Jeremiah had been in the courtroom daily, sitting in the back with his aunt Denise, who'd taken temporary custody of him and Maya. He listened intently, taking notes on a small pad he'd brought from school. He'd read about court cases online, watched videos about legal rights, and even borrowed a library book on basic law. He wasn't just a kid watching his mother's trial. He was studying it. Angela had told him to stay strong, but Jeremiah couldn't just watch. He had to act. On the morning of July 26, 2025, as the court prepared for another day of testimony, Jeremiah approached Mark Ellison during a recess. "Mr. Ellison, you're not asking the right questions," he said, his voice earnest but respectful. "Mom didn't do this, and I can prove it." Mark, tired and distracted, gave a half-hearted nod. "Kid, this is complicated. Let me handle it." But Jeremiah wasn't deterred. He'd noticed things the lawyer hadn't. Gaps in the evidence, inconsistencies in the co-worker's story, and something about the footage that didn't add up. When the court reconvened, Mark called Angela to the stand, but his questions were vague, doing little to challenge the prosecution's case. Angela's voice trembled as she denied the theft, explaining she'd been home with her kids the night of the incident. The jury seemed unmoved, their faces hard to read. Jeremiah's frustration grew. He whispered to his aunt, "I need to talk to the judge." Denise hesitated, but she saw the fire in her nephew's eyes. She signaled to Mark, who reluctantly approached the bench. Judge Marcus Freeman, a veteran jurist known for his fairness, listened as Mark explained Jeremiah's request. The prosecutor objected, calling it highly irregular, but Judge Freeman raised a hand. "I'll hear the boy out," he said, his tone curious but firm. "Let's see what he has to say." The courtroom buzzed with whispers as Jeremiah walked to front, his school backpack slung over one shoulder. He stood tall, though his heart raced, and addressed the judge directly. "Your Honor, I'm my mom's lawyer today. She didn't do this, and I can show you why." The room went quiet. Judge Freeman leaned forward, his expression a mix of skepticism and intrigue. "Young man, this is a serious matter. You're not a lawyer, but I'll give you a chance to speak. Proceed carefully." Jeremiah nodded, pulling out his notebook. He'd spent nights piecing together what he'd learned, and now it was time to share it. First, Jeremiah began, "The security footage. The prosecution says it shows my mom, but the woman in the video is wearing a jacket with a logo that doesn't match the one my mom wears at work. Her work jacket has a red stripe on the sleeve. This one doesn't. I checked her jacket at home, and it's still there, no red stripe missing." He held up a photo he'd printed from his phone, showing Angela's work jacket. The jury leaned forward, murmuring. Laura Hensley stood, her voice sharp. This is speculation from a child, Your Honor. But Judge Freeman waved her off. Let him finish. Jeremiah continued, his voice steady. Second, the co-worker, Ms. Linda Tate, said my mom bragged about extra cash. But Ms. Tate's been late on her rent 3 times this year. I heard from our neighbor, who's her landlord. She needed money, not my mom. And Ms. Tate was at the warehouse that night, too. The footage shows her car in the parking lot. The courtroom stirred. Angela looked at her son, her eyes wide with a mix of pride and disbelief. Jeremiah wasn't done. The inventory logs have my mom's initials, but she doesn't sign them. She told me the supervisor, Mr. Daniels, fills them out for her because she's always moving boxes. Mr. Daniels didn't testify, but he should. He knows my mom didn't sign those logs. He flipped through his notebook, showing a page where he'd written timestamp from the footage, cross-referenced with Angela's work schedule. And the night of the theft, my mom was home. I know because we were watching a movie together, The Lion King. My sister Maya can confirm it. Judge Freeman's eyebrows rose. He turned to Mark Ellison. Counselor, have you verified any of this? Mark stammered, admitting he hadn't dug into the jacket or the co-worker's motives. The judge's gaze shifted to the prosecutor. Ms. Hensley, do you have a response? Laura Hensley hesitated, then requested a recess to review the new information. Judge Freeman granted it, but not before saying, Young man, you've raised serious points. Stay close. During the recess, Mark and a court investigator scrambled to check Jeremiah's claims. They pulled Angela's work jacket from her home. Sure enough, it had the red stripe, unlike the one in the footage. They interviewed Maya, who confirmed the movie night, her small voice unwavering. The investigator also spoke to the neighbor, who verified Linda Tate's financial troubles. Most damning. They subpoenaed additional footage from a second camera, which showed Linda Tate near the warehouses loading dock the night of theft, handling boxes that matched the stolen equipment. When court resumed, the prosecution's case began to unravel. Linda Tate was recalled to the stand, her demeanor nervous. Under pressure, she admitted to borrowing equipment to sell, claiming she meant to return it. She'd used Angela's initials on the logs, knowing Angela wouldn't notice, and had worn a similar jacket to shift suspicion. The supervisor, Mr. Daniels, confirmed he often signed logs for Angela, a practice Linda exploited. The jury's faces hardened, not at Angela, but at Linda. Judge Freeman called for a sidebar, where Laura Hensley admitted the prosecution's case was compromised. She moved to drop the charges against Angela, citing insufficient evidence. The judge agreed and, with a bang of his gavel, declared Angela Carter free. The courtroom erupted in gasps and scattered applause. Angela rushed Jeremiah, pulling him into a tight embrace, tears streaming down her face. You saved me, she whispered. Jeremiah hugged her back, his own eyes wet but his smile wide. The judge addressed the room, his voice warm but authoritative. I've seen many trials, but never one where a 12-year-old turned the tide. Jeremiah Carter, you've shown remarkable courage and clarity. Your mother is lucky to have you. The jury nodded, some wiping tears. Even Laura Hensley offered Jeremiah a respectful nod, though her expression was strained. Angela and Jeremiah left the courthouse hand in hand, Maya skipping beside them. The community, once quick to judge Angela, now faced its own reckoning. Linda Tate was charged with theft and perjury, her trial set for the following month. Angela returned to work, her reputation restored, and Jeremiah became a local hero. Schools invited him to speak, and a local law firm offered to mentor him, seeing his potential as a future attorney. Jeremiah didn't let the attention change him. He went back to school, still carrying his notebook, still reading, still watching out for his mom and sister. But something had shifted. He'd found his voice, and the courtroom had listened. The truth, uncovered by a boy's determination, had stunned them all.